Welcome to Live the Dream with yours truly, Marty Kaiser. Buckle up and let's get started. Good afternoon. Happy Friday, everyone. This is Marty Kaiser with our Friday Real Estate Tidbits. Hope everyone's doing well. The weather was a little chilly this morning, but it's warming up. Hopefully it'll be nice this weekend. I'm wearing my heavier clothing as when you live in Florida, you get soft when the cold weather comes. Start off a little different order today. I'm going to have a brief update on some sports, and then we'll go right into real estate data and opinions. With sports, last night we had the Thursday night football game between Tampa Bay and Atlanta, and Tampa Bay unfortunately lost on a last-second field goal. They've kind of crashed and burned this year. They started off the year really promising, looked like they were going to have a really strong team. And with injuries and other related activities, they've really floundered. The last 2 weeks, they've lost to two of the poorer teams in the league, and their playoff hopes are not looking really great. My assessment of them, as you know, I always give opinions, is I feel they need a coaching change. Their coach, Todd Bowles, seems like a nice fella, but his defensive strategy, they're just getting picked apart, and the team doesn't really seem to be fired up like they need to be. So it's disappointing for the local fans, but it is what it is. On a more positive note locally, the local basketball team, the Orlando Magic, is continuing their turnaround from their early season woes. And in the mid-season NBA tournament, the Emirates Cup, the Magic beat the Heat this week, so now they're in the semifinals. They'll be playing the New York Knicks, and that should be a good ball game. What's interesting about the Magic is this turnaround has coincided with initially their top player, Paolo Banchero, was injured. He missed a bunch of games. And then as soon as he came back, within a game and a half of his return, their other top player, Franz Wagner, got injured. And so they played their first game the other night without Franz Wagner and played well and beat the Miami Heat. Desmond Bane, their new acquisition, has played very well for them of late. College football playoffs were announced, and there's a lot of controversy over Notre Dame getting excluded and Miami getting in. The only thing you can say about college football, because there's a lot of rapid fandom, especially in the South, is college football has gotten increasingly corrupt. It's all about money. They don't have a good governing body. I've kind of lost interest a little bit in it because with players transferring and the all political nature of it and all the money involved, they've really lost their amateurism. So remains to be seen if they can clean their act up, but right now it's in a state of chaos. So that's all for sports. So getting into real estate, I wanted to go over some additional information with everybody and some predictions for 2026. One thing you may have heard about, the Fed lowered their Federal Reserve lending rates yesterday. So they went down 0.25% basis points. So now they're in the 3.5 to 3.75 range. They're expecting that this may be their last rate cut for a little bit, as they've had a few rate cuts in 2025. And they probably still weren't as significant as some folks had hoped for. But the Fed's trying to do a balancing act. They're trying to spur the economy, especially in the real estate market and commercial, with some reductions in interest rates, but at the same time, they're still very concerned about inflation because the barometers for inflation are still higher than they would like. They probably won't meet again until the first quarter of 2026, and the prediction is that they're not going to have a lot of rate adjustments in 2026. So the good news is they're lower than they were in 2025 and 24, but they're still above where folks would like. Inflation levels right now are at around 3%, which is above the Fed's 2% target rate. So we'll see what happens with that. The other thing of concern that kind of contrasts with inflation is that the job market continues to be a lot softer than they would like. And so your unemployment rate is at the highest level it's been for about 4.5 years. The latest data that came out on unemployment showed that unemployment was about 4%. So that's definitely higher than like. So we have a lot of conflicting data, and that's what's causing a lot of this uncertainty and caution on the Fed. You still have higher interest rates than people would like. You still have higher inflation than people would like. And you still have higher unemployment than people would like. So the economy is very tumultuous and very uncertain right now. And it looks like a lot of the things that the Trump administration had promised up to this point during his first year in office have not come to fruition. Now, there's thought that maybe once the tariffs get finally finalized, so to speak, and either permanent at a certain level or eliminated, that may help the economy get in a more stable posture. But we'll just have to wait and see for that. Now, regarding real estate projections for 2026 and recommendations, et cetera, basically, as you know, I do a lot of reading and follow a lot of the entities that I feel comfortable give an unbiased opinion and that are usually pretty spot on in terms of their logic. And one of the databases that I tend to pay attention to is Homes.com. They're a big competitor of Zillow.com, and they've actually, in a lot of fashions, exceeded Zillow.com. I feel they're more detailed and more accurate in their assessments. And I think, generally speaking, folks in the real estate industry like Homes.com over Zillow.com. Now, they feel that sellers, in large measure, are going to need to what they refer to as recalibrating home pricing in 2026. I'd say most of the entities expect that real estate prices on a national level are going to stay very flat in 2026. In some areas, they may rise a little bit, and in other areas, they obviously might come down. What appears at this point is that the South area, which obviously we're a part of in Florida and Orlando, is more vulnerable because the run-up in 2021 to 2023 was higher in the South, and accordingly, the adjustments may be a little bit more. The other thing with the South is what tends to make these adjustments more extreme is that the income level in the South is probably a lot lower than some other parts of the country, especially in the Northeast and out West. So, we'll see what happens. Just to give you an idea, when I talk about price increases previously, from 2020 to 2024, data indicated that now this is on a national level, that existing home prices increased by over 37%. So, that was quite a bit higher than what we've experienced in any other 4-year period. So we'll see what happens. One of the things that you're finding that's a limiting factor, especially in Florida, is what I call housing prices versus income. And so that differentiation has widened quite a bit in the South, meaning that the ratio of income to housing prices, the spread has increased. So what that's done is that decreased people's buying power, both in terms of what they're qualified for, and at the same time, it's put more upward pressure on what size down payment they need, because obviously as prices get higher, you need a higher down payment. So some of the things that they feel will be adjusted both in the pre-owned market, but especially in the new home market, is the share of townhome construction has increased significantly. It's increased approximately 10% over the past 10 years, and they're expecting the current share of townhomes to single-family homes to continue to increase significantly over the next 5 to 10 years. And the main reasons for that increase in townhomes relative to single-family homes is that, especially with first-time buyers, they've increasingly had challenges and they've been frustrated by their ability to get into the real estate marketplace. So now the builders are trying to counteract that somewhat with a more affordable or attainable product. And so that's one of the reasons why townhomes are going to continue to increase on the construction market. A couple other trends that we're finding is that developers and builders are trying to be more creative in what they do. So some of the adjustments that they're currently making is they're continuing to make lots smaller on single-family homes. And obviously, that hasn't been tremendously popular as a concept, because what you do is, as lots become smaller, you sacrifice privacy. But on the other hand, by keeping lots smaller, they're trying to keep the price of homes lower than they would be if the lot sizes weren't adjusted. So that's a trend that's probably going to continue with smaller lots. Also, a lot of the builders have reported, such as D.R. Horton and Pulte, that they've been slightly adjusting the square footage of properties to get a little bit smaller. Again, the reason being for that is not so much that demand has gone down for more sizable homes, but in order to try to keep homes more affordable, they're trying to gradually decrease the size of the homes. Now, at the same time, because these increases have gone on for a couple of years and will continue during 2026, they're cautiously optimistic that that trend's going to change, and you might see a slight adjustment upward on square footage of homes in 2027. So it'll be interesting to see how these changes occur. There's definitely a lot of volatility and a lot of caution. I think those are two good words that you can utilize when you're discussing the real estate market. That's why when you do your own research and due diligence and determine where the trends are, I would say not only is there a lot of uncertainty, but there's a tremendous difference of opinion. For example, in this last Fed rate adjustment that happened yesterday, they had a 9-3 vote, and usually when the Fed makes a decision, it's usually unanimous. So their 9-3 vote just shows there's a difference of opinion. I know there was a couple people on the Fed that were in favor of a larger rate decrease. At the same token, there was a couple other people on the Fed that would have been fine if the rate hadn't gotten adjusted at all. So it's interesting how these perspectives are a lot different. And I think they're going to be a somewhat limiting factor on real estate in 2026. As I continue to tell my customers, you shouldn't let these prognoses affect your opinions from this standpoint. If you're in a position to buy and or want to buy and or need to buy, you shouldn't put your plans off, because you are going to see definitely some good opportunities, I believe, will continue in 2026. Sellers that are more realistic with their pricing and more flexible with their negotiating strategy are going to be far more successful. And I think we've seen that trend in the last quarter of 2025, and that's going to continue in 2026. So keep a close eye on that. What I try to do with my customers is I try to go into a lot of information when I give them opinions to try to put them at ease, in the sense that when I give opinions, they're based on a lot of tangible data. And so we'll just have to wait and see. Just to review some opportunities that I have available for folks that we think are excellent. We have a gorgeous lakefront home in the upscale section of Hunters Creek called Hunter's Isle. It's a 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath home with an office, over 3,300 of living area, a third of an acre on a pristine waterfront lot. That property is going for $864,900. And that particular seller is a very realistic seller. So for people that are looking for a quality home on a great location, please call me. We'd love to show that one to you. Conversely, we just priced a home and put it on the market at one of the lowest price levels in Hunters Creek. It's an excellent opportunity. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath pool home. It's been very well maintained. It's got a great floor plan. All the major rooms, dining room, living room, and family rooms are in this property. It's in the Mallard Cove section of Hunters Creek, and it's got a very reasonable asking price of $464,900. Those are two excellent opportunities. So I do encourage people, if you're looking for a home and you're looking for somewhere in and around the southwest area and or Hunters Creek, please call me and I'd love to show that home to you. I can be reached at 407-595-9700, or my email address is marty@floridasells.com. The next and last point, but not the least, is some of the regional trends that they expect to occur in 2026. Out of the 10 cities that they expect significant positive growth in real estate, both in sales and pricing, 9 of them are either in the Northeast or the Mideast. And again, those reasons for that are convenience and relative affordability compared to other parts of the country. Some of the areas that they expect to have a very strong market are Rochester, New York, Worcester, Massachusetts, and Toledo, Ohio. They expect all those to be in double-digit increases. And so for those areas, obviously that's very good news, because some of those areas have been quite stagnant for a period of time. One of the things that's interesting about the data is that there's not much in the South that they expect to have a positive forecast anywhere near that. The only area somewhat in the South that has a positive projection is Richmond, Virginia. And that's kind of in the north part of the South. They expect Richmond to have about a 10% increase. The actual number one market, which is interesting because it's in a kind of a relative area close to New York, is Hartford, Connecticut, but it's a little bit outside of New York, so you don't get all the pressure and of price increases that the city has and the heavy traffic that you experience around New York. So the top area, Hartford, Connecticut, they're projecting to have a 17% increase in 2026, which is very positive for that area. So that gives you an idea about some of the predictions that are going on, some of the market projections. and we'll wait and see how close they are to reality. So please, if you know anyone that needs some real estate information and assistance, please give them my name and contact information. Again, it's Marty Kaiser with Better Homes and Gardens. I can be reached at 407-595-9700. Have a great weekend, and this is Marty Kaiser out.